Welcome to Our Girl Relationships. We talk about the problems people face in their day to day lives. Let's start with the video. My stepdaughter has been telling lies about me to my husband for a while now, and nothing gets on my nerves more than not being able to do anything because I don't have any proof that she's doing it on purpose. The amount of times I've had a fight with my husband over what she said is literally giving me a headache. And I was at a point where instead of trying to explain that I'm not in the wrong, I would just nod at him and walk away. I realized there was no point in trying to get her to see what she was doing was wrong, because in her own teenage world, she has some screwed up logic going on with which no amount of reason can compete. But among all this, the most frustrating thing was my husband's unbothered behavior. Like my stepdaughter would say a harmless lie about me, which, to be honest, isn't going to break my relationship, but would require a discussion with my husband where I'll have to clarify how what he heard isn't true. And even though the lies in themselves were harmless, the mental stress they have caused us has driven me insane. But my husband thinks it's all right for her to do such things because she's having a hard time in accepting me as her stepmom, and we should let her be until she grows out of it and learns to accept me. Now, if she was a 6 or 7 year old kid, I would have let it all slide. But she's 15. She's in high school. And in my opinion, if a person is old enough to start dating, they are old enough to understand how not everyone is going to live their life according to their comfort. Honestly, at this point, it's just shitty behavior and nothing else. And her lies do nothing more than tell how childish and immature she is. Last time, when I was going to be late because of work, I called and told her to use my credit card and order dinner. I usually leave my spare one at home in case of emergencies, but instead of using it, she said she's already full because she ate out with her friends and is going to skip dinner. I distinctly remember I asked her at least twice if she's sure, and when she said she's fine, I reminded her there's some fruit in the fridge in case she gets hungry before hanging up. The next day, I found out that she told my husband how she went to bed hungry because I didn't leave any money for dinner and didn't let my husband know that I'll be running late. I almost blew my top there because the lie was so stupid. There were fruits and cereals she could have eaten, and there's no way she didn't know how to cook noodles if she was that hungry. I wished I had the call recorded to show my husband, but unfortunately, I didn't have the auto recorder on. I had to spend an hour dealing with my husband because he really thought I had failed in taking proper steps to make sure she doesn't go hungry on my watch. Which is ridiculous to begin with because there's no way a 15-year-old should starve while they have snacks at home. And that was just one of many ridiculous things she did in the last 6 months since I married my husband. So, y'all can understand how, with time, my patience would have vanished by now. And I was done with fighting for lost causes. I was comprehending how I could directly shut her up without needing my husband to have a talk with her. And the opportunity presented itself last week. I wasn't feeling that well, so I took the day off from work and came back home. It was around 12 p.m., and technically my stepdaughter should have been in school. But when I came home, I saw two backpacks lying in the living room. I figured out she was skipping school and took the chance. I started a video recording on my phone to have as proof this time and tiptoed my way upstairs to catch her. But before I could even turn towards her room, I heard voices from my room. So I went there and saw something that I neither enjoyed nor do I wish for anyone ever to see that in their life. At first, when I saw two backpacks, I thought she must have invited one of her girlfriends over. But I was wrong. I saw her boyfriend, that she has introduced as her best friend, to her father, lying on the bed half naked while she was rummaging in our closet for something. I was too shocked to say anything, and while I was stunned, she took out the condom box. That's when I made a sound and they both jumped out of their skins. The boy hurriedly used the blanket to cover himself, while my stepdaughter just stood there with a condom in her hand. I stopped recording immediately. I told her boyfriend to get out, and he couldn't have run faster out of there. I asked her what in the world she was doing, and that too in my bedroom. She was too afraid to skip, and I took everything from her hand and put it back in my closet. I told her to get dressed and meet me downstairs. When she finally came down, it was clear she was terrified, and the first thing she asked me was not to tell her dad. I knew I had the upper hand in this situation. Instead of scolding her or telling her how she's too young to take such a step, I asked her to sit down and listen to me. I told her that if she really doesn't want me telling her dad about what I just saw, she has to stop acting like a spoiled brat and close the walls on all those lies she keeps making up. I told her how I have recorded what happened today, and if she ever puts one step out of line or even thinks of talking shit about me, I'm going to show that video to her dad. By the time I was done pulling her strings, she was crying, and that gave me a weird satisfaction. She had made my life a living hell since the day I moved in after getting married, and now finally I'm the one who'll control her. Does doing that make me an a-hole? So it's been 2 months since I posted here about my stepdaughter and how I practically blackmailed her so she'll stop telling lies about me. I thought of updating you guys about how things have been since then to answer a few things many of the comments were talking about how most of you said my husband is a jackass and he should have been the one to keep his daughter in check. Well, I kind of disagree because he was just as frustrated as me. It was clear that some of the things she said were lies, but as a father, he can't disregard everything his daughter said and just be safe. He used to confront me about all those lies. After it went on a few times, he did try to ground her or punish her in other ways, but it was all futile. And in the end, it started causing strain in our relationship. But for the past 2 months, things have been very quiet and we're all getting along well. In fact, the first few weeks when things changed, my husband was very surprised and asked me if everything was all right. He was worried something was up with his kid and she might be in some shit to have completely given up on causing us trouble. I mean, I'd be suspicious too if people around me were suddenly all nice and quiet after basically being an a-hole all their life. Nonetheless, life seems to have worked out somehow, and I'm happy. So I was too quick to say life was happy. Not even 3 weeks have passed, and it's all gone to shit again. My husband found the video I recorded of my stepdaughter that day, and as expected, he was mad. I never deleted the video in case my stepdaughter ever tries to misbehave again. It was kind of my insurance against her childish tricks, and my husband never really uses my phone, so I wasn't much concerned about him seeing it accidentally. But even then, I had moved it to a different folder so it wouldn't ever show in the top page of my gallery. Unfortunately, he lost his phone when we went to Disney World on Sunday. We didn't realize it was missing because he had kept it away after the battery died. I guess it was either pickpocketed or fell out on one of the rides. Either way, he was using my phone yesterday to look through new ones on Amazon and saw my Amazon folder where I keep the screenshots of items that I like. I remembered too late that it was the same folder where I've moved the video to, and before I could have stopped him, he watched it. Now he's pissed because I hid something so serious from him. He asked me several times why I didn't tell him, but I couldn't say anything. I didn't think saying I used the video to blackmail his daughter would be the best thing to do here, so I kept my mouth shut and he finally gave up and went to sleep. Now he's gone to work and I don't know what will happen when he comes back and finally confronts both me and his daughter. It was a nightmare. My husband asked my stepdaughter to come down because he needed to talk to her. As soon as he brought up her inviting boys in the house and being in that compromised situation, she glowered at me for snitching on her. I finally sighed and figured that telling the whole story is the only way out of this, seeing how, there's nothing left to be salvaged in this situation. I sat down with them and told my husband how I came home that day and found my stepdaughter with a boy. I was planning to catch her skipping school, but instead I accidentally recorded something like that. Originally, I was planning on telling him, but after I saw how scared she was, I thought I could use this to finally put an end to her lies. So I used the video to make her behave. When my husband looked daggers at me and told me how this broke his trust, I told him this was my last resort because he refused to teach his daughter a lesson or two in manners and honesty. She was a spiteful teenager, and he just ignored everything she did because he felt guilty that she's having a hard time adjusting to the changes with us. The argument went on for hours. Everyone was upset with each other. What I didn't expect was anything positive from that whole argument. But to my surprise, my husband finally said he can't deal with this anymore and put his foot down like he should have done ages ago. He told his daughter she's grounded for the rest of the school year and no friends are allowed to visit her at home. He also said that he is not going to listen to any of her lies anymore, and if she doesn't want to be grounded until she turns 18, she should try and accept the fact that I'm here to stay. That was a surprising development, and even though things are sour between me and my husband, at least I can hope that my stepdaughter would not cause any more problems unless she really wants to live like a prisoner. NTA sounds like another one of those spoiled kids who think the world revolves around them. You've got to deal with them in their own language, and I don't think what you did was a shitty move. NTA, not the a-hole for using something she did for your advantage, since she's a lying brat and deserves to be taught a lesson. But I do think your husband should have handled his daughter instead of making it your problem. On mobile and trying to not be too specific. So, I, 23 female, am nearly 30 weeks pregnant with my first. To put it simply, I have a strained relationship with my sister-in-law. She's emotionally abusive and manipulative and has been since I've known her. She's constantly putting me down, making judgmental comments about my appearance, clothes, home decor, etc. And now, future baby. It's all very little, though, like small comments that have been wearing me down for several years, but they've had a massive impact on my mental health. When I've tried to stand up for myself, it backfires, and she and my mother-in-law make it seem like I'm attacking them and turn people against me, basically just making my life harder. My husband dislikes them both, has noticed their abuse towards me and others, and barely talks to them as it is. In fact, he warned me of their behavior years ago, but we got along. I'm very submissive and struggle to stand up for myself. My husband has stood up for me many times, which I love. So they resorted to making my life hell when he's conveniently not there, so he can't hear. They, mainly mother-in-law, have been very invested in our baby. Like they have a sense of entitlement surrounding the baby that I can't quite describe. Like they act like it's their niece, grandchild, before it's our baby. So, and I'm not sure of the law in the UK, but I'm considering getting a restraining order against my sister-in-law. She's ruined my mental health, and I don't want that to have an impact on my baby. My husband is fully supportive and says that we should. But is it too harsh to deprive her of a relationship with her niece? We have tried no contact before and it doesn't work. We have also tried to talk to them about their impacts. But that turns into, you're attacking me, you're being horrible, you're manipulating me, I'm the victim because you ignore me, kind of thing. Turning other family members against us. I just don't want them showing up at my house, which they have done, to basically confront me and tell me off. NTA, I don't think you'd get a restraining order against her for that. Fortunately, grandparents' rights, etc., aren't a thing here, so you don't have to worry about that. Just continue to distance yourself and go no contact. You can tell your hospital that you decline to have any visitors if you stay in overnight, so they can prevent them from getting on the ward. NTA, I don't know how it works over there, but I had to have proof of the abuse, and the person I have one against had the chance to fight it in court. It was an easy win. I had 50 plus pages of evidence. If they show up at your house, tell them to leave. If they don't, then they're trespassing and you should call the police. Otherwise, block them on everything and just leave if they come somewhere that you are. I don't really understand why you can't avoid them. I'm 21 years old, and my friend, Tara, 20 female, has always been a little overweight, and in the past she couldn't accept it. She tried so many diets, but nothing lasted more than a few weeks as, quote, my love for food is so strong. A few years ago, she met a guy, and that was the hint she needed to get serious help from a professional doctor and to start exercising. I need to say, she looked stunning after a few months and was able to catch the guy. Let's say that the pandemic got the best of them, and after 3 long years of relationship, he dumped her. She was devastated at the beginning. She regained almost all the weight she had lost previously. But after some time, I and other friends managed to help her out again. She came back to hanging out with us. She flirted with some guys, nothing serious. In the meantime, another girl joined our group. Let's call her Maya. Maya is the kind of girl that's naturally fit and doesn't need exercising at all. And that's something Tara couldn't accept. She began teasing her all the time, saying things like, hey, don't hug her too tight. You might break her. How can you manage to have sex? A boy would crush you. I'm glad I gained my weight back because I used to look like you. Or even, at least I have some meat they can grab. If a boy grabbed you, where would he put his hands? On your collarbones? Maya always tried to laugh it off as she was the new girl, but I could see her not being comfortable at all. Last night, after the umpteenth comment, I blurted at least she can fit in a pair of jeans. Tara suddenly fell silent as the rest of the group turned their heads on me, and I continued. You shouldn't body shame someone over jealousy, and you shouldn't be proud of being overweight either. You know that doesn't help your medical conditions. Tara stormed away, and a few girls followed her to check on her. Everyone called me an AH, saying that I shouldn't make fun of her for being overweight, nor should I bring up her medical conditions in front of someone that doesn't know her that much, Maya. I told them that it's hypocritical that they would scold me about saying something that's at least true, and wouldn't say a thing to Tara as she was body shaming Maya. So, AITA? Tonight, I went to dinner at one of my friend's house. There were Tara and Maya too there. I knew that, and that's partially why I wrote the post. As I arrived, I took Tara and went in a separate room with her. I told her I was sorry for what I said, but that I talked out of frustration. I also told her that I think her bullying Maya all the time is not cool at all, and that she should apologize. She nodded and said she totally understood my point of view, but wasn't going to apologize because this wasn't the occasion. Everything seemed fine between us, even though I wasn't totally happy with her answer, and we went back to the others. Literally, 20 minutes ago, we had dessert. Do you see where I'm going? As I was eating the first bite of the cake, Tara announced, as my name thinks that I'm fat, I decided to go on a diet, so I'm not having it. I almost choked. Everyone laughed out of embarrassment, not knowing exactly what to do or say. Then Maya turned to her and said, well, that's the smartest thing I've ever heard you saying. I'm writing this from the passenger seat of Maya's car. We both left the house because there's been a huge fuss about Maya's comment, and I finally realized that you don't have to hang out with people that you don't like anymore just because you were friends in high school. So thanks, Reddit. NTA, because you were provoked and stood up for a nice person who she was clearly taking jabs at out of her own jealousy and insecurity. It isn't so much about Tara's weight as it is about her condescending attitude and rudeness towards others who don't deserve it. And good for you for realizing sooner than later that if she can't let this go, even after you apologized and explained why you snapped, then that's on her. 1,000% correct. Just because you were friends in high school does not mean you're obligated to be friends in what is now real life. NTA. Okay, so if she has the audacity to make fun of someone's weight, she can't get offended when someone calls her out as well. That's so immature and childish. Don't step in the kitchen if you can't take the heat, or whatever that comment is. Tara is a huge hypocrite, and the comment she made at that dinner after you all had already worked it out was so unnecessary. The comment Maya made was completely justified.